So in the last session, we discussed about variables and data types in Java. What are variables? Variables can hold data. So we understood that, and also we have seen some examples on how to use variables. And we have seen different kinds of data types. Mainly, there are two types of data types, primitive data types and non-primitive data types. And we have seen examples on primitive data types. So in this session, we are going to discuss about operators. Operators in Java. So what are operators? Operator is a special symbol which will perform some operation. Operator is a special symbol which will perform some operation in Java. So usually in mathematics, how do we have symbols? So if I write something like this, so we call this as symbols. X and Y, we call this as symbols in mathematics, right? But in Java, when we have something like this, we are calling it as variables, right? So now let us see. Say for example, I have something called x equal to, same 100. So this is not the valid syntax. We need to provide the data type for this variable that we understood yesterday, right? In the last session. So I'll provide my data type for x as integer. In the same way, I'll have another variable declared and then I'll have 200 assigned to it. Now I have two values, x and y, right? Now I wanted to perform some operation using these variables. I wanted to perform some operation. So I wanted to find the sum of these two variables. How can I do that? X plus y. All right. So I'm actually calculating the sum of these two numbers, sum of these two variables. That's right. But we have to store it in some other variable. We can store it in some other variable. So I'll be storing that in some other variable called z. Again, as this is another variable, we have to have the data type for it. So I'll declare the data type of z also as int. So int z equal to x plus y. So this gives us the sum of these two x and y, and it will be again stored in z. So if you observe here, x and y are operands. We call x and y here as operands. And plus is the actual operator which is performing some operation between x and y. In the same way, like if you see equal to is also operator here. So x and y are operands, plus and equal to are operators. And this whole part is an expression. We call that as an expression. So this is the basic understanding for the operators. Now let us discuss what are the types of operators we have in Java. So we do have 6 to 7 types of different operators in Java. So those are we do have arithmetic operators. So using arithmetic operators, we can have some basic operations, math operations like sum, difference, product, division, remainder like that, modulus. So these are used to perform some basic operations. In the same way, we do have relational or comparison operators where we can compare the values using these operators. And logical operators are also used to evaluate the we can use logical operators on Boolean values, and increment, decrement operators, assignment operators, and we do have the conditional operator as well. So in this session, we'll discuss each one in detail. So what are arithmetic operators? We'll start with arithmetic operators. So directly we'll create a class and we'll understand with an example. Let me open my Eclipse. Okay. So let us create a new package for today. So daily I'll be creating one package and I'll be naming it that day, that day number. So today is day 3, third session. So I'll just name it as day 3. You can name it anything, like you can name it even like operators, yesterday's package as variable, something like that. It's up to you. So new class. So once we create the package, we create the class. So I'm gonna create one class. I'll call my classes arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operators example. So if you observe, I'm following the convention, class name convention. So each word, the first character will be the uppercase. I'm taking the main method here. Just click on finish. So first thing, we have to declare some variables, right? So say for example, I have two variables where I'll be assigning, initializing some values to it. Say for example, I have int sum a equal to 10, b equal to 20. Now, how can I perform arithmetic operations on these two uh, variables is, so if I wanted to find the sum of these two variables, so we can just say a plus b, right? But we wanted to store it in some variable, or what we can do is we can directly print the sum of these variables, sum of these two variables in, on the console. So for that, I'll have system.out.println, and then if I say a plus b, what happens? So let's print this and verify. So a plus b is 30, right? So, and for better, you know, for better clarity, what we'll do is we'll say this is sum. So you can see int a equal to 10, b equal to 20. So we declared two variables and we have initialized the values to these variables. Now we wanted to perform some basic operation between these two variables. So if you see sum a plus b, I have said, so whatever we put it in double quotations within the system.out.println, that will be treated as string. Then I wanted to concatenate, so I just use plus symbol, and then I wanted to actually print the sum of a plus b. So I did a plus b here. So let's see what will be the output now. So if you see, it is not doing the sum of 10 plus 10 and 20. So if sum of 10 and 20 is 30, but if you see, it is displaying sum as 1020. So you should not be reading this as 1020, 1020, right? So it is just displaying the values of 10 and 20 as is, because system.out.println doesn't know like why you are using this plus. So we have to use it carefully, giving it a meaning. So if you can group it like this, a plus b, then it can understand that we are trying to perform some operation on those variables. So if you just use this plus, it will be treated as a concatenation. So it will treat and use it as a concatenation symbol. We have to enclose that in the brackets. Only then it will be treated as a operator, and then an operation will be performed between the variables. Now let us see. So you can see the expected output here, sum as 30. So in the same way, we can perform some basic operations like this is sum, right? So say for example, I wanted to find the difference. So okay, b is greater than a, right? So I'll just say b minus a. I wanted to find the product. So what symbol we'll use for the product? A into B. So for difference, we'll use minus, and for product, we use into, right? Asterisk. And I wanted to find division. I wanted to divide A by B. I'll just say B by A. As we have taken in our example, B as a large value. So I am just saying B by A. Next, modulus. Modulus of B and A. So for that, we can say something like this. So what is modulus? What is division? So if you see, say for example, I wanted to divide 20 with 10, right? So 20, how do we divide 20 with 10 is 10, 10 twos are 20, right? 10 twos are 20. So here, so this will be the dividend. 20 is dividend. 10 is divisor. 10 here is divisor. And 2 here is, we call it as quotient. And 0 is remainder. So this is how we get all these values when we divide one number by other number, right? So in our case, B by A, right? So B by A, 20 by 10. So in this case, what should we get? We should be getting the quotient when we divide, and when we use this slash symbol, right? When we use this slash symbol, whatever we are using here. So when we use that, we get the quotient. We get the quotient. And when we use the modulus, so modulus is modulo operator is this one. So when we do that on two numbers, we get the remainder. We get the remainder. So here B percentile A, B modulus A. So B slash A is division. We are going to get the quotient 20 by 10. So we need to get the quotient as 2. And we have seen here. And B percentile or B modulus A. So we need to get the remainder. So in this case, we will get 0 as the remainder. So let's verify that. I'm running this program now, and you can see. So sum is 30, difference as 10, 20 minus 10 is 10, product is 20 into 10 is 200, division is 2 because it is quotient, and modulus or modulo is the remainder. So it is 0. So this is how we can perform some basic operations using arithmetic operators. Now, say for example, earlier, if say for example, I wanted to perform some operations.
Okay.
So if I wanted to perform some operation, so I'm same if I wanted to perform some on some say for example, I have given you 10 and 20. Just imagine you didn't have declared this variables A and B, right? So in that case, what we usually do, we hard code the values. Instead of A, we'll write 10. Instead of B, we can write 20. 10 plus 20, you can write it and find the sum. In the same way, you can find the difference as well between the using the two variables, right? But what happens if you do like that, then say for example, I wanted to find sum and difference, all these operations on some other numbers, say for example 30 and 40. In that case, what will you do? So in that case, what we'll be doing, you have to come here and change values for each A and B. So let me show you that. Say for example, I didn't have A and B. For example, I just had A, something like this, right? So even now, let me execute this program. So I get the same values, right? Same result in this case and this case, right? What's the difference then? So the difference is here in this case also I got the same result. But if you observe, I am performing operation in 1020. That's fine. Say for example, I wanted to find the operation, all these operations on two other numbers called 30 and 40. So how can I do that? So again, I need to come here. Wherever I find 10, I need to replace it with 30. And wherever I find 20, I should replace it with 40. This operation I have to perform 5 times. Just imagine if I have some 10 operations, or say for example, more operations like 20, 30, and even that could be at any place in your code, right? It need not be in sequence. So you have to find where 10 is and you have to replace it with 30, and wherever B is, you have to replace it with 40. So that's a tedious job, right? So instead of that, what we can do, we can just declare variables like how we did here. And if I wanted to perform operation on some other numbers, say 30 and 40, I can just change it in the variables. So I have declared variables for that purpose. So, and I was performing operation in 10 and 20. So I got the result. Now I wanted to perform operation and evaluate values for 30 and 40. I can just modify the values at one place where I was initializing the variables. Now you can see, I just changed these numbers. I got a different result. Like this, I can modify or get the values for any numbers. So the point to be noted here is, so when we use variables, so this is the benefit we get. We can declare variables and we can use it anywhere in the code so that we can, we can modify them at one place. If you wanted to modify the value for the variable, so variable is varying, right? So it is used mainly for the manipulation in a program. So whenever I wanted to change it, so I can easily change my value for the value, and then that will be reflected in the variables wherever the variable is used in the code. But my change will be at one place, only one place. So that's the benefit of using variables. All right. So now let's go back. So we are done with the arithmetic operators. We understood what we can perform, like what basic operations we can perform using arithmetic operators. Now we'll understand relational or comparison operators. So you can see relational or comparison operators. So in arithmetic operators, like we perform operation on two or three variables or two multiple variables, and then we evaluated the result, right, using these arithmetic operators. Now we are going to use comparison operators. So using when we use comparison operators, so this is greater than symbol, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, this we call it as not equals to. And we use double equals to for to find the equality between two values. So these are the comparison operators. So let's see one example on comparison operators or relational operators also. So both are same. Say for example, I wanted to calculate if A greater than or B. So comparison operators, the result of comparison operators is always true or false. That is Boolean. So A greater than B. So it will either result in true or false. So in our case, we can clearly see if A is greater than B, no, right? So this should return false. A greater than B should return false. But how do we actually get that result? So let's print it on the console. A greater than B. So like, so Okay, let's actually execute this. Okay, it says false, right? So for now, I'll just comment this arithmetic operations, and you can see false, because if A is greater than B is what is being evaluated here. 100 greater than 20, is 100 greater than 20? No, right? So that's the reason we are getting result as false. So whenever we are using comparison operators, we get the result either true or false. So greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, if A not equal to B, and if A equal to B. So all these are comparison operators we are using. Now let's see the results of this and understand. So these are all the different comparison operators available. So let me also put it here. And you can see clearly, right? So what it says, A greater than B is false. A greater than or equal to B is also false, because 100 greater than or equal to 200, no, right? So it is false. And if A less than B, so you have to see these values, what the values has been assigned to A and B. A less than B, 100 less than 200, yes, 100 is less than 200, so it returned true. So if you want, you can also, for better readability, you can also add it here. So in the same way, we can add it like this, so that we can read it easily. For better readability, we are doing this, so that even this will be displayed on the console like this, right? If A greater than B, false. A greater than or equal to B is also false. So in the same way, we can see the result of the other operations as well. So using comparative operators, what we can do, we can compare two values. So here we are actually assigning two values to two variables, and we are comparing them using the variables for comparison. So here if you observe, A less than B, 100 less than 200, true. 100 less than or equal to 200 is also true, right? So A not equal to B. So this operator is called as not equals to. So it verifies if A not equals to B. Is 100 not equals to 200? Yes, 100 is not equal to 200, right? This is the reason it displays true, right? And if you see A equal to B, so in Java, when we wanted to compare two values, right? Equality of two values, then we use double equals to. So because equals to is already used for assignment. So if you see, when you use equals, it's already used for the assignment, assigning some value to the variables. So we can't use equals again. This is the reason we use double equals to. So double equals to actually checks the equality of two values. So it is checking the equality of two values A and B here. So if A is equal to B is what it is trying to look for. So here in our case, does A equals B? No. So it is false. So this is how we can use the comparison operators. We will also call this as relational operators. Now we will see logical operators. So what are logical operators? So logical operators are, let's go back. This is ampersand. So this symbol, we call it as ampersand. And this one, we call it as pipe symbol. And what are logical operators? So logical operators returns Boolean value, and it can be used also on Boolean values. So to understand logical operators better, so we need a chart. So say for example, so what did we say? Logical operators. So this is ampersand, and we call this as logical AND. we call this as, when we use two pipe symbols, we call it as logical pipe. And this is not symbol. This is when you use only not, it's a logical operator, right? So it's called not. Now, so logical operators can be performed on two Boolean values. So we can only perform logical operation on Boolean values, two Boolean values, right? So what is Boolean? Boolean is, it can either be true or false. Now let us understand with an example. So if you see here, yeah. So if you see here, I have values for x and y. Just observe x and y, the values of x and y. X is true and y is true. So there are two Boolean values, Boolean true and true. X is true and y is true. Now we are going to perform logical operation on this two values. So if you see x, logical and y. So this is called as logical and. So what will be the result is true. And when you say true and false, so when if x is true and y is false, then logical and will return false. So in order for logical and to be true, so both the values, both the Boolean values has to be true. So true and true. Only in that case it will be true. So if you see x is true and y value is false, then the result will be false only because it has one false, right? So it will return false. And even if it is x is false and y is true is also false. False will be anyway false. So this is how the logical and will work. So in the same way, like if you see logical OR, so it is just the exact opposite of it. X is true and y is true. It is true. So it is OR operation. So this we call it as logical OR. X is true and y is true, it will be true. True and false is also true. So it looks only for one true. So if at least one value between the two Boolean values, if it is true, then the result will be true. That's how you can remember. False and true, true. As we have at least one true here for y. False and false, we don't have even one true here in the two Boolean values. So only in this case, it will be false. So very simple to remember. So if you see logical and, it will be true. So first of all, logical operation can be performed on two Boolean values. And how do we remember the result is? So if I wanted to perform logical and on two Boolean values, so in order it to become true, both the values has to be true. So in any other combination, it will be false. You can observe that here, right? So if it wants to be true, it has to be true for the two Boolean values. Only then the logical and result will be true. In all the other cases, you can observe it is false. So this is about logical and. And coming to logical or, if you see, it is true even if at least one of the Boolean values is true. See, in first case, true and true, true. So in second case, if x is true, y is false, also true, because it just checks for at least one true value. But in the last combination, it both x and y was false, only then it was false. So this is how logical OR works. Now coming to not symbol. So not x is negation. So we call this symbol as negate or negation. So negate x, negation x is negative to x, or whatever we have the value for x, so the opposite of it. So if you see x is true here, the negation of true is false, right? So it returns false. When x is true, it returns false. And if it is false, negation of x will be true. Same goes for y as well. So you can observe here. When y is true, negation of y will be false. When y is false, negation of y will be true. So it is applicable for other values as well. When it is true, negation will be false. When it is false, it will be true. So this is all about logical operators, understanding of logical operators and how they work. Now let us see an example on logical operators. Say for example, I have some E, or let's say for example, X itself, X equal to true, and I have another variable, Boolean variable Y equal to false, X equal to true, Y equal to false. I'm just commenting out the comparison operators. Now we have two values, two Boolean values, as we wanted to perform logical operation between these two values. So we declared two Boolean variables and as an initialize those values for them, right? Now we wanted to perform logical operation between these two values. I'll just do logical OR between X and Y. So what will be the result? So we always need to remember this chart, X and Y. So in this case, X is true, Y is false. So it will fall in this case. So we should be getting this value false, right? Logical and it will be true only if both the values are true. So you can see it is false because Y is false. Now we'll try what will be the value for logical OR. Logical OR and also negation of X, negation of Y. So you can see X, logical and Y, so true and false. So logical and will only be true if both the values are true. So in this case, it will be false. So true and false. Logical OR, it returns true if at least one Boolean value is true. So in this case, it should return true as we have one value true for X. So negate X is, so negation of X, whatever the X Boolean value is there, so it will be the reverse of it. So it will be false here. And Y, it is already false. So the negation of Y will be true. So this is how we need to understand the logical operations. Now let's see one more example. Say for example, I have something called Boolean. Say for example, I'll just say Boolean P1 equal to, we can even assign some values also here. So I'll just say 100 greater than 200. So forget about this. So just see this, 100 greater than 200. So the result might be false, right? 100 greater than 200. We are using some comparison operators. Comparative operator between these two values, and 100 greater than 200 is what we wanted to find it out. Is that true or false? 100 greater than 200, it is false, right? We can store this value as this is a Boolean, result is a Boolean. So we can store this in a Boolean variable. So I'll store this in a Boolean variable. And then I'll print the result. So you can see it is false. You can just comment this out. And if you see it is false, right? 100 greater than 200. So you can even perform operation on the literals or the values directly and store it in some variable. And then we can check the result of it, right? So say for example, I'll just modify the operation like this. The result will be different, right? 100 less than 200 is true, right? So it will print true. So instead of that, then what we can do is we can call this as result one. And let's create one more. And what we'll say here is 100 less than 200. This will be true, right? This will return false. This will return true. So logical operations, we'll only see Boolean values. So it will be applied on Boolean values as well as result will also be Boolean values. So we have result one and result two now. So you see false and true. Fine. Now we can actually apply again logical operation on these two Boolean values. So as these two are the Boolean values, so I have the result 1 and result 2. I perform some operations and I have two Boolean values, right? Result 1 and result 2 are the Boolean values. Now I wanted to perform, as I have two Boolean values, I wanted to perform some logical operation on those two Boolean values. So I'm going to perform logical AND here. So you can see it is false because false and true. So logical operation, false and true will result is false. Let's try to see logical OR. Logical OR will be true because false or true. Logical OR, it will be true if at least one of the Boolean values is true. So it is true. So we can even say, like, if I wanted to find negation of result 2. What is result 2? Result 2 is true, right? So if I say negation of result 2, it will result in false. It will result in false. So you can just put it like this and verify the value. So you can see result 2 is false. Not, it is negation of result 2. So you can see result 2 is true. So negation of result 2 is will be false. So like this, we can understand the logical operations and how we can perform logical operators between two Boolean values. So when we perform logical operation between two Boolean values, we get the result also again as a Boolean. Again, on the resultant values, we can perform the logical operators and so on, right? So this is all about logical operators. So it returns Boolean and it can be used on the Boolean values. It can be only used on Boolean values and it also returns Boolean value. Boolean value is true or false. So this is all about logical operators. So we call this symbol as ampersand and we call this symbol as pipe. So before jumping on to the next topic, so is everything clear? All right. So let's jump on to the next topic. Increment operator. So to understand increment operator, let's directly create an example on that. So I'm going to create a class, new class. I'll call this as increment operator. So say for example, I have some value int a equal to 10, right? And now if I wanted to add 1 to this value, so how can I do that? We can do this way, right? Like if I wanted to modify the value of a and add 1 to it, we can add it like this, a plus 1. And also we can store it in a itself. So this is valid. This is valid in Java. So a plus 1, a equal to a plus 1. Usually if you see it, according to mathematics, it is not true, right? But you should not consider this as equality. So we just learned just now, right? So only if you use double equals to, only then Java treats it as comparative operator and it treats it as you are trying to check the equality of two values. But when you use equals to, it actually assigns the value whichever is there on the right hand side. That value will be assigned to the left hand side operand. So here, in this case, what happens is, as you are seeing a plus 1, so first this will be evaluated. So a plus 1 is, here in this case, 10 plus 1, 11, and the value 11 will be stored in a. Let me show you that. So let us see that. So if you see a equal to 10, so I'm trying to print the value of a, so it is 10. Now I wanted to increment a by 1. So what we did, a plus 1, and again storing the result in a itself. So first this operation will be performed, a plus 1, and the result will be stored in a. So a will be overridden here. This is the reason we can see the a value as 11. And this operation a plus 1 can also be written as a plus plus. So we can write it as a plus plus. In Java, we can write it as a plus plus, meaning increment a by 1. So this is what we call it as increment operator. This is increment operator. So we can, when you say a plus plus, a increments by 1. So this is exactly equivalent of this. When we say a equal to a plus 1, so we are increasing a value by 1. So this is exactly the same. A plus plus is a equal to, incrementing a by 1. So this way we call it as increment operator. So we can verify the result. So it is again the same. So it was 10. So it incremented by 1 and it is 11 now. So it is exactly the equivalent of a plus 1. So a plus plus is a plus 1. Now, say for example, I have int a equal to 10. Say for example 10, right? So for now, I'll just comment this out, a equal to 10, and then I wanted to perform a plus plus. So we know a plus plus will return 11. It increments a by 1, right? So now observe carefully. Now what I'm doing, I wanted to store the result. So what is the result? We know it is 11, right? So I wanted to store this result into some other variable. I'll store it in some variable called result. I'll store it into some other variable called result, right? So if you observe, so let's print the result first. So to our surprise, if you see, the value is still 10. So I commented out all the earlier code. So just observe only these three lines now. A equal to 10. A plus plus. We said a plus plus is equivalent to a plus 1. That is increment a by 1 value. And we are storing value in result. And we are just displaying the result here. But it is still 10. So what happened here was, so a was incremented, but it was incremented only after assigning it to the result. So what do we mean? I mean by that is, so if you see here, so what happened was, like, the value of a has been assigned to result first, and then the increment operation has been done. So using plus plus, it was incremented, right? This was done after assigning a value to result. So first a has been assigned to result, and then it was incremented by 1 using the plus plus symbol, increment operator. So this is what we call it as post increment. Post increment. So let me explain again. So result, when you say a plus plus, no problem, it will increase a by 1. But when you are trying to assign it to some other variable, so what happens here is this assignment, right? So this assignment takes precedence over this increment operator when we are using post increment. So this, when you are using a plus plus, it is called as post increment. Post increment in the sense, so first the value of a is assigned to result. Result equal to a plus plus, right? So first the value of a is assigned to result. This is the result. Result is still 10. After that, a is incremented. So in order to understand that, so what's the value of a now? We wanted to understand that, right? So let's even print that value. So you can see a value is 11, but result is still 10. This is because when you are using post increment, so this is the post increment operation. And when you are using post increment, that is a plus plus, then what happens when you are assigning it to some variable, then first assignment happens. So a value is assigned to result, and then plus plus is done. Operation on a is done. That is a is incremented by 1. So result is 10 and A is 11. This we call it as post increment operator. Now let us take another example. I'll just comment this out. Let's take same example, A equal to 10. Okay. And now I'm gonna do plus plus A. Even this is valid. So what plus plus A does? It also increments A by 1. It also increases A by 1. So if you want, we can verify it. So A is increased by 1, right? Plus plus A also does the same. It increments A by 1. Fine. Now, what we wanted to do? We wanted to assign this value into another variable and print the result. So can you guess what will be the result now? Let's verify. So it is 11. So it is 11 now. So this is because we call this as a pre-increment operator. So in this case, what happens is increment will be done first. So increment operator is before the operand, right? So this is called as pre-increment, and first increment will happen. After that, the value will be assigned to the left-hand operand, that is result. So if you clearly observe this, so plus plus A is called pre-increment operator. As it is pre-increment, that is plus plus symbol came before A. So this is the reason the value of A is incremented first, assigned to result, right? Assigned to result. A result called result variable, right? So this is what we called as pre-increment. We have to know the difference between post-increment and pre-increment clearly. So when we use post-increment operator and assign the value to a variable, then what happens? First assignment happens, and then the increment operation is done. But when you use pre-increment operator, that is when you use the symbol plus plus before the variable, then first the increment happens. The incremented value is assigned to the result. Incremented, and then the value of A is assigned to result. This is the reason you see result as 11 here. You can also see the result of A if you want to. So both are 11 because this is pre-increment operator and increment happens first and then it will be assigned to the left-hand side result. You can just remember it like whichever is close to equals to, right? So assignment operator is equal to A, right? So it is, so you can divide it as variable and then increment operator, right? So if what are assignment operator, so whichever is close. So what is close to here in post increment A. So first A will be assigned to result and then increment will be done. So if you see here, equals to whatever is close to equals to, plus is very close, right? Than A. So increment happens first, right? Incremented and then assigned, the A value will be assigned to result. That's how you can remember. This is about post increment and pre-increment. So simple. So if A plus plus and plus plus A, both will result in the same operation, that is incrementing A by 1. That is clear. But when we use it to assign it to some other variable, then when we assign it, so then we have to be careful that we have to know this. Because when you use post increment, first assignment happens to the variable, and after that, only after that, the value of the variable will be increased. When we use pre-increment, so as it is pre-increment, first the value is incremented by 1, and then only the value of the right hand operand is assigned to the left hand operand. Very important. We have to know this difference. Is it clear? increment operator. All right. Now let's see decrement operator. I'm going to create a different class for decrement operator. We'll see decrement operator. Decrement operator, it's just the, reverse of increment operator. So you can think it of like, say for example, I have some value called int equal to 10 again. So if I wanted to perform a minus 1, so what will be the a minus 1 is 10 minus 1, 9, right? And if I wanted to assign this to a again, so what we'll do, like this we'll do. So we wanted to update a value, we wanted to decrement a by 1 and wanted to update the a value. So this is how you can easily do it in Java. So let's see the result. You can see a is decremented by 1. Yeah, we got this, right? Now, the same, what we wanted to do is using post decrement, we wanted to verify this. So what post decrement is? Say for example, we have again, like, let me comment this out. Say for example, I have a equal to 10. Now I wanted to decrement a by 1. I can also do it using a minus minus or minus minus a, right? Now I am using post decrement, so I am using a minus minus. So if I do this and try to print value of a, then it will be 9. We know. So a minus minus is like we already performed a minus minus and the value of a is decremented by 1. But I wanted to again like store the result in some variable. So in this case, what happens? It is post decrement, like how we have seen post increment. So post decrement also, the value will be assigned to the result first, and then a value will be decremented. So the assignment happens first, and then decrement or the decrement operation happens next. So you can see here, result. Result is 10 because assignment happened first, and then the decrement operation was done later. So you can see the a value. So a was decremented, but first assignment happened to the left-hand operand. So that's the result. We see result as 10. So this is how post decrement works. Same as increment. Only thing here is it is minus minus and it is used for decrement. It is used for, difference. Same goes for the pre-increment, like pre-decrement. Let's see pre-decrement. Say for example, I have something called t equal to 10. Now I wanted to do minus minus a. This is pre-decrement. So we are decreasing value of a by 1. It will print 9. This is expected, we know. Now, if I assign it to some variable, what happens? So first, this is a pre-decrement. So first decrement will happen on a. That is, value of a will be decreased by 1, 9. And then the value will be assigned to result. As this is pre-decrement, minus minus a, what happens? First, the operation minus minus will be done. Like a will be decremented by 1. So this is done now. So a value is 9. That will be assigned to result. So you can see both are 9. Because pre-decrement, what happens? Decrement happens first. And then assignment happens next. Same as the pre-increment. So first the operation will be done, then the assignment will be done to the left-hand operand. So this is the reason we see this result. So very important topic we need to remember and we need to practice. Practice and check. Like, doing all these operations, we need to print these values and verify, and then we need to understand. Very important, and also it's simple. So it's, we just need to understand like how it is working when you are assigning. So if you are not assigning, that's fine. Then the value of A in this case will always be decremented by 1. Either you use post decrement or pre decrement, it doesn't matter. So A minus minus or minus minus A, when you use it independently, then the value of A is decremented by 1. But when you are assigning it to some other variable, then you need to understand this. So post decrement, so first the assignment happens and then the value of the value will be decremented. But in pre decrement, decrement or the operation will be performed first. A value will be decremented by 1, and after that the assignment will be done. So this is what we need to remember. So this is all about increment and decrement operators. So is it clear? Okay. Now let us understand assignment operators. What are assignment operators? So these are the assignment operators we can see. So let's create a new class to understand assignment operators. Assignment operators. So we can see assignment operator. We already see assignment operator equals. So what it does, it does assign the value of the right hand operand to the left hand operand. Right? Say for example, I have a equal to 10. Why always 10? Let's take 100. Okay. If I wanted to increment, so here what we can see, we can clearly see that A equal to, so 100 is the value and it is assigned to left hand operand, which is A. So 100 is the value assigned to A. So this is about assignment operator equals to, right? Now, let me increment A value by 5 or 10, right? So I wanted to increment A value by 10. So how can I do that? I can do A plus 10 and update the value of A. So to update the value of A, I assign the value of this again to A. So with this, what happens? A will be incremented by 10 and will be assigned to A again. So this is just literally updating A by 10, right? All right, now we understood this. Okay, we'll just verify it. So if you see A value is 110, this is fine. So the same thing can be written in a different way. A plus equal to 10. So this will also perform the same thing. A equal to A plus 10. So so this is we call it a shorthand operator. This is very much equivalent to A equal to A plus 10. So A equal to A plus 10. So this can also be written as A plus equal to 10. This we call it as shorthand operator. This also gives you the same result. 110, right? So you can see this comes under assignment operator. And when we say A plus equal to 10, this also actually result in the same. Okay, so nothing here. So nothing to worry about here. It's another way of writing. So A equal to A plus 10, right? So what happens here? A value is incremented by 10 and assigned to A, right? So this can be written like this. You can still write like this also. This is a shorthand operation. So this is equivalent to this. This is other way of writing like this. A equal to A plus 10 seems to be redundant, right? So you're incrementing value of A and assigning it to A anyway. We know that, right? So this is just the other way of writing A equal to A plus 10 in Java using the shorthand operators. So when we say A plus equal to 10, so that will be anyway evaluated as A equal to A plus 10 internally by Java. Just for simplicity, so if you see here, we are using A equal to A plus 10, right? If you see here, A plus equal to 10, we are not repeating the variable again. We know that we are anyway incrementing a value, right? So we can just say a plus equal to 10. This is a shorthand operator provided by Java. We can still use it like this, no issues. But there is other way of writing it. So that is using shorthand operator, and this is how the syntax is: a plus equal to value, which will again be evaluated as a equal to a plus 10. Is that clear? Yeah, you don't need to worry about that because it's not that important. It's just the equivalent of a equal to a plus 10. It's the other way of writing it. Just we are making it simpler. Shorthand operators makes writing your code simpler. It looks very simple now, right? A plus equal to 10. Anyway, it will be evaluated to a equal to a plus 10 only internally. If you're getting confused at the beginning, you can use it a equal to you can increment like this only. So if you wanted to increment some variable value, then you can increment it and assign it to the variable. But this is just a shortcut of it, or easy way, or we can say shorthand way of writing it. Right? So I'll just copy this and we'll use it for other operations as well. Now we'll take a equal to, what happens? A equal to a minus 10. I wanted to perform a minus 10. We just need to modify this symbol to minus. That's it. So it will be equal to, it will be equal to 10 minus 100. And in the same way, if I wanted to perform product, so if I wanted to, do multiply 100 with 10, I can just modify it like this: a into equal to 10. This is very much equivalent to a equal to a into 10. Now, if you wanted to divide a by, say for example, some 10, right? I'll just do a by 10, a divided by 10. Or I can do a slash equal to 10. This is the short way of writing a equal to a slash 10. This is just a short way of writing it. So there is nothing wrong writing it a equal to a slash 10 also. But this is just a short way of writing it. We don't need to declare int so many times. We already declared it, right? So we can just use it as is. Now I wanted to perform modulo operation. So a modulo equal to 10. So 100 divided by 10 again yields the remainder as 0. So let's see the result of these operations. So you can clearly see 100 plus 10, the first operation 110, 100 minus 10, 90, 100 into 10,000, 100 divided by 10 is 10, and 100 divided by 10, we wanted to look for the remainder is 0, as 10 exactly divides 100 by 10. So we can see the result as 0. So this is how we can use the shorthand operators, and these are called as the assignment operators. So if you observe, this is what we achieved. These are the assignment operators, and we have used here. Now let's jump on to the next topic: conditional or ternary operator. What is conditional or ternary operator? If you see, the operator is question mark colon. So how we need to understand this? So how we need to understand this is, let's understand with it with an example directly. So let me go to my project. I'll create a new class. I'll name it as ternary operator. I'll name my class as ternary operator. Now, how we need to understand ternary operator? Ternary operator, so it is applied on Boolean values. So, say for example, I have some Boolean expression. So it always evaluates Boolean expression, and if it is true, then it will consider result 1, or else it will consider result 2. What do you mean by consider? Consider in the sense, so if Boolean expression is question mark, so if it is true, then result 1. Or we can consider this as or else you can consider it as others. Otherwise, result 2. So say for example, I have some variable A. So what happens here is a Boolean expression will be evaluated, and if it is true, result 1 will be assigned to variable on the left hand operand. Else, say for example, Boolean expression is false, then result 2 will be assigned to var. I think you'll understand it better with an example. So let's take an example. Say for example, I have some a equal to 10, or let's take a equal to 10, b equal to 20. Now, I wanted to perform some operation where I wanted to find if a is greater than b. So if a is greater than b, then assign the value a, or else assign the value b. So I wanted to evaluate this expression, and then if it is true, I wanted to assign a. So let's actually declare some result variable. So it will be clear now. So this is variable. So I am evaluating this expression. So let's better put it in the brackets so that this becomes an expression, which actually results in some Boolean, right? So a greater than b, in this case, 10 greater than 20. Yes, it is true. It is true? No. 10 greater than 20 is false, right? So in this case, it has to return b, value b, right? So a Boolean expression will be evaluated, and if it is true, question mark denotes true. Is it true is what it is asking. If it is true, then assign value a to result. Question mark says if it is not. So if it is, if this Boolean expression is evaluated to false, then b will be assigned to result. This is what we call it as ternary operator. So question mark is used to evaluate if the expression is true or not. So this is saying, is this true? Is what it is saying. If so, assign the value which is adjacent to it, like A. A will be assigned to result. If not is denoted by colon. B, in the sense, B will be assigned to result. You can simply understand it like this. If this expression evaluates to true, then A will be assigned to result. If this expression is evaluated to false, then whatever comes after colon, then that will be assigned to the result. Let me print the result. I think you'll understand it. So see, 20. What is 20? Value of B, right? So how this came? A greater than B, is it true? It is false. If it was true, then question mark A, right? So what if this expression is evaluated to true? Then this value, whatever is comes after question mark, will be assigned to the result. If it is false, then whatever is after colon, that will be assigned. What is after colon? It is B, right? So in this case, A greater than B is evaluated to false, because 10 is greater than 20 is being evaluated, and that is false. So B will be assigned to result. So result will be B. What is B? B is 20. This is the reason you are seeing 20 here. Say for example, I'll just modify this result to A/B. A less than B. A is less than B. In this case, it is true. So if it is true, it has to return whatever comes after question mark, right? That will be should be assigned to the result. Let's see that. Yeah. So you see 10 as a result, because A less than B is evaluated to true. This is a Boolean expression. It is trying, we are using comparison operator, if you observe. So 10 less than 20, yes, it is true. So if it is true, whatever comes after question mark will be assigned to the left-hand operand. So in this case, after question mark, there is A. So it has been assigned to result. So what's, and then we are printing result. So the value of A is 10. So that's the reason we are seeing 10 here in the console. Is it clear? Okay, let me give you another example. So the eligibility for vote is, so you need to have age as at least 18, right? So let's say for example, age is 18, or say for example, 18 or 19. So if it is greater than or equal to 18, then you are eligible for vote. I'll declare my variable as age, and then I'll say if age, or I'll say this is percentage. We can use underscores in the variable, right? So percentage, if it is greater than or equal to 18, see how I am writing the expression. So this is an expression, Boolean expression. This has to return some either true or false, right? So this I wanted to check. If it is greater than or equal to 18 is what I am checking. If it is greater than or equal to, I wanted to say eligible or eligible for vote, whatever it is. And if it is not, I'll just say not eligible. This has to be held into some variable on the left hand side. So depending on the value which we are returning, depending on that, the data types changes for the result. So in this case, earlier we were actually trying to assign A and B. A and B were integers. So we declared result as integer. But in this case, after evaluating this expression, so if it is true, we are returning some string. If it is false also, we are returning some string. So if it is true, if we are returning string, or false, we have to, we are returning string. So both has to be the same data type. So we know anyway, if it is going to be, if this expression, Boolean expression is gonna evaluate it to be true or false, either true or false, we are going to return some string, whatever it could be in the double quotes, right? So, but it is string is what we know. So we are going to actually store this into some variable. But the data type of it is a string, because the after evaluation, if it can be true or it can be false. So irrespective of that, we are returning string. So we are storing the result in string. Let us try to execute this. So eligible for vote, because percentage is 19. We are trying to find if percentage is greater than or equal to 18. Yes, in this case, this is true. So if it is true, whatever comes after question mark, that will be assigned to the left-hand operand, that is in this case result. So this is the reason you see eligible for vote. Say for example, I'll just modify this to 13. So how this happened? Percentage is compared with 18. 13 greater than 18? No, right? So it is false. So if it is false, so it will assign whatever comes after colon. So after whatever comes after colon is here in this case not eligible. So that string has been assigned to result. So that is the reason you see not eligible here. Hope that is clear. So if it is not clear, we can see one more example if you want. Let me show you one more example. it's actually simple to understand. So a Boolean expression will be evaluated, and whatever comes, if it is true, so whatever comes after question mark, that will be assigned to the result. If it is false, whatever comes after colon, that will be assigned to the left-hand operand. So you can see that here, right? So, okay, anyway, I can actually give you one more example. Say, for example, I wanted to evaluate something like this. Is 10 equal to 10? 10 equal to 10 is true, right? So whatever can be the Boolean expression. So question mark. So if 10 equal to 10, I'll just say equals. Or we can say correct. You can say incorrect. So again, this is a string, right? So I'll put this into some string. So here we are evaluating, it could be any Boolean expression, any expression. This has to result as give us the result as Boolean. It has to give us result either true or false. So that's how your expression has to be there. So you can write any expression here, but it has to be evaluated. And finally, it has to give us some result which is true or false. So in this case, 10 is compared with 10. So if you observe, I am using double equals to operator here for checking the equality of these two values. So if you see this is true. If it is true, whatever comes after question mark, that is correct, right? So correct will be displayed here. Correct, right? Say for example, I modified to 20. And in this case, it will display incorrect because 20 is equal to 10 is what we are comparing, the result of which is false. So if it is false, so this value, whatever value comes after colon, that will be assigned to the left-hand operand result. So this is what we call it as ternary operator. Hope it is clear now. And yeah, let's go back to our notes. So we completed all the operators. And yeah, we need to, all these operators again are categorized into three types. Same operators, but they are categorized into three more types, like unary operator. So unary operator, binary operators, and ternary operators. So unary operators is performed on one variable. So it is performed on one value or one variable. So what are the operators here which can be performed on one variable? We have seen such operators, right? So you can clearly say that plus plus, minus minus, increment, decrement operations, and also the assignment operators. Whatever the assignment operators we have here, that can be applied on one variable. Even equals to also. We assign value, right? So a equal to 10 like that. So all these can be applied on one variables. So these are called as unary operators. Binary operators are performed on. So binary operators are used between two variables. Is used on two variables. Unary operators are used on one variable. So we have seen, right? Plus plus, minus minus, increment, decrement. We were using only one variable on that. And even assignment operators also we have seen. So we use only one variable and we were able to use these operators. Such operators are called as unary operators. In our case, we can clearly say that all these increment, decrement, assignment operators are unary operators. So what are binary operators? Binary operators are operators on which it is operation will be applied on two variables. So if you observe, at starting we discussed arithmetic operation, comparative operators. Even comparative operators, we need two variables. If we have two variables, we can compare those two, right? So arithmetic operators also, we have done it on two variables. Even logical also. So we need two Boolean values to use the logical operations. All these comes under, binary operators. And what are ternary operators? Ternary operators are the one which where we apply ternary on more than two variables. The operators which we perform more than on two variables is called as like ternary operators. They are called as ternary operators. So in this case, we have only conditional operator. That is this one, question mark colon. So this is the ternary operator. These are the operators, the same operators, but they are categorized into different way. In a different way, like unary operators, binary and ternary. Unary operators performed on one variable, binary operators performed on two variables, and ternary operators performed on more than two variables. So this is all about the operators in Java. Hope it is clear. Okay. So now let me give you an assignment for today. So the assignment is you need to calculate the area of a rectangle, and also you need to calculate the perimeter of a rectangle. So how do you calculate the area of a rectangle? So what's the formula? Length into breadth, right? So length into breadth is the area of a rectangle, right? So how you can do is you can declare some two variables and assign some values to L and B, or you can call them as length and breadth. Assign some values, right? Length can be 100, breadth can be 50, like that. And then try to evaluate the area of a rectangle. Area of a rectangle formula is L into B. That's the hint. And so you can actually calculate the area and print it on the console. And also try to find out perimeter of a rectangle. So the perimeter of the rectangle. What is the formula for perimeter of the rectangle? 2 into L plus B. This is the perimeter of the rectangle. So you need to find out the area of a rectangle as well as perimeter of the rectangle. That will be the assignment for today. And also we can work on swapping of two numbers. Try to swap two numbers. So what do we mean by swapping? Say for example, you have A equal to 10, B equal to 20. So what do you mean by swapping this? Once you swap these numbers, the final result has to be A equal to 20, B equal to 10. This just exchanging the values of A and B. That is what we call it as swapping. A will get the B value, B will get A value, right? So usually how we can do this is, so we can take a temporary variable, and then with the help of temporary variable, we can actually swap this A and B. So what do I mean by temporary variable is, say for example, we have A as 20, B as 10, right? Okay, let me draw it again. So A equal to 10, B equal to 20. How do we swap it is, we take a temporary variable, say for example, I have C, right? This is A, this is B, right? So you will take help of C. So what we'll do here is, we'll take a variable c and assign value of a to it. And then you will copy value of a to b. And then a value is already saved in C, right? So we'll assign value C to B. This is how you can perform the swapping of two numbers using a temporary variable. So here temporary variable is C. So what did we do? We just saved number A in C. Okay. So we have the value of A preserved now. So we don't need to worry the value of A. So we have the value of A preserved in C. Now what we do? We are going to modify value of A. So as A value of A is already saved, so we'll modify or update the value of A to B. So it is straightforward. A equal to B. So meaning B value will be assigned to A. So we already achieved half of it. Now we need B value. So B value, so we wanted the value of A, which we already saved it in the first step. That we are gonna use it here. And assign value of C to B. C is nothing but A, the old value of A. So now we are going to get B value as the old value of A, that is 10. So now B becomes 10 in this case, and A will get the value of B, that is 20. So if you see, we started with A equal to 10, B equal to 20. But if you see, after this performing these operations, A has become 20 and B has become 10. So this is what we mean by swapping of two numbers. So try to find out, try to swap two numbers. So this is very easy method, right? Simple method. You are using temporary variable called C. But so the assignment here is, you need to swap two numbers, but you should not be using the third variable, third temporary variable. We use C, right? So you should not be using even the third variable. Without using third variable, you should be swapping two numbers, A and B. Try to do that. So if you are not able to do that, you can find the solution here in this link. In this video, I have explained how to swap two numbers in a different ways. So you first try it. Try to swap two numbers without the third variable. If you are not able to do it, you can watch the solution in this video link. All right. Hope the session is clear. If you have any questions on today's topic, then we can discuss.